Let's take your driving from this to this. Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Jamie Miller, PGA Teacher Professional, and today we're going to help you hit the ball further. These tips will hopefully help you not only hit your driver further, but also help with your irons as well. Let's get into it. So today's video is going to be broken up into three parts. We're going to talk about the setup, we're going to talk about the width in your swing, and then we're going to talk about the body motion as well. Like a lot of things, the issues for most people start at setup. A couple of the big things that I tend to see, particularly when it comes to drivers, that when people set up to the golf ball, they have their feet far too close together, a very narrow stance. They're not very stable. There's no base to work with. We want to have a nice wide stance, so our feet, the inside of my feet there should be roughly around shoulder width. The reason I want to do this is I want to be able to use the ground. The best way for me to be able to use the ground is to be nice and stable and firmly planted into the ground. The other advantage of having a slightly wider stance is it helps with the next piece of the setup that I tend to see people struggle with. If our feet are very close together, very narrow, we tend to get very level shoulders. And when our shoulders are very level, we tend to have, or what that tends to cause for most people is this wanting to get the club going downwards and over the top motion. It tends to get the shoulders misaligned to the hips, so the shoulders will tend to point further to the left than the hips. The first thing we've got to do is make sure that our setup is right. So we're going to start off with feet width. Let's get our feet set up nice and wide. A small step with our left foot, our front foot, and a much bigger step with our back foot, so that the ball is going to be somewhere near the inside of our left heel, and our inside of our foot is going to be roughly shoulder width apart. Now if I just put the club down behind the golf ball, you should see and notice that my shoulders are now much more level, or sorry, tilted. So my left shoulder is slightly higher than my right shoulder, which it should be because my left hand is higher on the club than my right hand. That wider stance not only helps with the extra tilt, but that extra tilt also helps to slightly square up our shoulders. Now if you're someone who does have a wide enough stance, but you tend to still lean this direction, what I'd like you to do to try and adjust this is like you to set up nice and tall, nice and straight, club on your chin, hanging straight down vertically, so it should be kind of in line with your sternum there. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and bump this hip forwards and this shoulder up until the club head kind of hits in line with our front leg knee there. That should give the appropriate amount of tilt that we're kind of looking for at setup. So if I do that, standing nice and tall, club is hanging nice and vertical, and I'm just going to tilt my hip and my shoulder until that club is kind of in line with my knee. Now my shoulders should be nicely tilted. Definitely the first thing that people need to check. Make sure that the stance is wide enough, and that when we've got that nice wide stance, our shoulders are tilted so that our lead shoulder, our front shoulder, left shoulder for right-handed golfers is higher than our right shoulder, our trail shoulder. Let's move on to the next piece. Let's hit a couple of shots now with those different setups and just see if anything changes in the way the club is delivered and what happens to the ball flight as well. First up, we're going fairly narrow stance, shoulders tilted so that they're fairly level. And I'm going to make the same swing with both these shots, both these setups that way. It feels so weird to me. Oh, that's low. So that's probably quite a common shot shape for most of you, a nice low fade that sort of starts low and rises up quite nicely. I mean, it's in play, it's functional, but it's definitely not getting the maximum out of what I'm putting in there. Second shot now, I'm going to go the wider stance, making sure I've got more tilt in my upper body. Same swing motion, just a different setup. Try and swing at the same speed as well. Okay, it's higher. I towed it, hence the hook, but it's definitely higher. It's gone a bit further. So with that one change, I managed to gain 14 yards. The first one, they both had the same ball speed at 150 miles an hour for a start. The first one launched at 3.3 degrees. The second one launched at 9.8. So we've picked up over 6 degrees of launch, which is massive and very important when it comes to driver in particular. Carried 206 with that first one. And then at the second one, which went up another 20 feet to 42 feet height, that extra height working out to 220 yards carry, so 14 yards difference. Big change for one small change at setup. Let's move on to the next piece. There are three ways to gain club head speed in golf. First one is to apply more force to the handle throughout the golf swing. The second one is to apply the same amount of force for a longer period of time, which I'll explain in a moment. And the last one is to do both, which involves a lot more speed training and also swing changes. Let's talk about the simplest one, applying the same amount of force for a longer period of time. Pop my driver down for a second and use these hula hoops to help me explain that. So what we've got here is the golf swing miniaturized in a way. So the golf swing is basically just a circle on a tilt around ourselves. If we have a smaller circle, like so, we have much less time to create speed and power. Whereas if we have a much bigger circle, much more like this bigger hula hoop here, we have much more time to gain speed, create speed, and use that speed. And that is what we're going to try and do with this next piece of the puzzle. Too often I see golfers with their golf swings get the club very close to them. There are lots of bends in the arms and the wrist trying to make that swing extra long, and I'll explain why that happens in a moment. But for the time being, we tend to see the arms and hands get very close to the body, and this makes our circle of our golf swing very short. So if you look at the distance my hands travel to get to that position, it's not very far. What we want to try and do is create extra width in the backswing, get our hands really far away from ourselves. So the time we have from that point to this point is much longer than this point to this point. And it's at extra width and length of swing that helps us create more speed without having to put in any more effort. Small side note to that is I don't mind if you have bends in your arms. I do mind if they affect what happens in your golf swing. There are a lot of good golfers, good drivers of the golf ball, like Lee Westwood, for one example, who have a bent left arm at the top of the backswing, and he's a fantastic golfer and a great driver of the golf ball. So having a bent left arm or a bent arm in the backswing is not a problem. It is a problem when it causes problems. The way I like people to go about creating this width in the golf swing is I want them to feel quite robotic in the arms and the backswing. So as they swing the club back, I want them to feel like they're kind of very straight in both arms, so that when they get to the top of their swing, their hands are really, really far away from their head. This left arm will feel quite straight. This right arm will have some bend in it, but it should almost feel straight to them. The further away we can get those hands from ourselves, the more time and length of swing we've created, regardless of where the club head is pointed, because we're more concerned about what the handle itself is doing, or our hands are doing in terms of length of swing. So once again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit two shots, one where the width of my swing is quite narrow, and then one where it feels a lot wider. Again, I'll try and hit them with the same force, but we should see a climb in club head speed without me having to try too much harder. Add that in with the change to setup, and we should hopefully see quite a bit more distance already. Okay, first up is going to be the narrow swing, so I'm making sure I've got that nice setup once again, good wide stance, tilt on the shoulders. My hands are going to be very close to my head at the top of my backswing. That's a pretty good shot. To be fair, it's almost on the line. I could play golf like this. Okay, so that one carried 234 yards. Club head speed was 99 miles an hour, and ball speed was 147. Right, I'm going to try and put in the same amount of effort with a wider swing and see if we can get any different results. So wide, already stretched out there. There we go. No extra effort put into it, intentionally at least, and I got up to 102 miles an hour there. Didn't strike it as well as the other one, but that has gone an extra 6 yards. So a little bit of extra speed, didn't strike it as well, got a bit of extra distance as well. Okay, let's move on to the last piece and put it all together. This is where we should see the real big gains without really having to try. A moment ago, I spoke about why people try and get bends in their arms to try and get the club head to go further back. And this is the reason why. We tend to see that when people do that, they don't have a lot of body rotation, so they tend to just get the arms involved, and they use these extra bends to try and get the club head to go further to help them create extra speed. Well, now that we know we want to make our swing longer by making it wider, we need to try and involve the body a bit more. So there are two ways I like people to go about making this change. The first one I'd like people to focus on is focusing on trying to get this pocket here to replace this butt cheek in the backswing. or focus on getting their belly button to point directly behind them. Okay, so if I do either one, so I'm going to focus on my hip pocket here. When that happens, my chest follows, so I'm getting quite a good amount of turn. If I focus on my belly button, same thing. Still getting the same amount of turn. It's getting both parts, my hips and my shoulders to rotate, and my chest to rotate in the backswing, which is exactly what we want to do, to try and help ourselves create that torque into the ground and get that swing a bit longer. If you are someone who struggles a little bit with mobility issues, or you feel like you do, what I've often found helps people is if we let that left heel raise off the ground, a la Jack Nicklaus, Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, Bubba Watson, John Daly, even Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, they all let their heel come off the ground. They just maybe don't notice they do it. It just allows our body to get a little bit more freedom of motion without really putting any extra strain on our body. What I'm going to do now, hit another couple of shots. I'm going to focus on getting my belly button or my pocket to point behind me. I'm going to allow that left heel to come off the ground and try and make good contact with the golf ball this time and see how much extra distance we can get without actually having to put too much more effort in. Going to tie it all together now. So we've got the proper setup, nice and wide, tilt on the shoulders and the upper body. Going to get my hands and arms as far away from my head as I can, and I'm going to get heaps of turn with that hip going behind me. I'm even going to let that heel come off the ground, see if I make some decent contact. There we go. That's a good one. So only 105 mile an hour, carrying 252. So we started at 206 and we've gone up to 252 yards of carry after starting at 206 yards. Hopefully that shows you with just a few small tweaks to your swing, you can make some massive changes to your game. What I'm going to do, just to prove the point to you a bit further, is I'm going to do some strokes gained analysis on where we started to where we finished. And I'm going to show you how much of a difference those few small tweaks can make to your game. Even if those few tweaks make you slightly less accurate, what you should find is the extra gain in distance is making golf a lot easier and your scores come down. Let's check that out. Okay, we're going to do a quick compare now to finish off with. So where we started off with our shoulders tilted down, narrow stance, hands close to our head and not a lot of body rotation. Club head speed was around about 101 mile an hour compared to 105.8, 106 mile an hour with all the extra motion involved and the better setup. This led to an increase in ball speed of around about 7 mile an hour, an increase in launch angle of 7 degrees. So I went from 4.5 to start off with to 11.5 to finish with. Spin rates were pretty much exactly the same. Carry distance, however, massively different. So the first ones started off at 217 yards of carry distance on average. And then at the end, we're carrying it 260 yards. So 43 yards gained with a few small tweaks to our swing and not a whole lot more extra effort put in either. I've got access to an app that Ping has that tells me the strokes gained when we compare these two. And what I'm going to show you is with these few small swinging tweaks, how many shots you could shave off your game. Even if, so these are obviously my results, even if you, when you do these extra changes, are less accurate with the longer one, you should still see very similar results in terms of strokes gained, because the closer you are to the hole with each shot, the easier the next shot becomes and the more likely you are to get it in the hole with each progressive shot. So I've put the data into this Ping app. I've put it down to a scratch handicap just to make it as fair as possible, because obviously you're not all going to, everyone's results will vary, but this is kind of going to show you what happened for me. So at the start, 217 yards. I put total distance down as 217 yards, just purely because the carry distance is super accurate on the GC Quad, and the rollout distance, the total distance, is a little bit of a guess, depending on obviously where it lands on the simulator. Standard offline deviation 17 feet, so very accurate for the start swing. The finish swing, total distance I've put down as 260 yards, and offline standard deviation is 13 feet. So now let's push the magic button and find out what the difference is. So I've gained a total of strokes gained from start to finish of 3.19. The major gain is going to be in distance, almost 3 shots gained, just because I hit it a lot further. What does this mean? Well, because the last swings that we put on were longer, this means that each subsequent shot should be easier, and the extra gain in distance should lead to around about 3 shots per round less, because I'm closer to the hole making golf that much easier for me, hopefully. That's all from me for now. Try these out, give them a go. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned there, or you'd like me to go a bit more in depth on anything that was mentioned, please post in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Otherwise, I will see you all again soon.